morning YouTube. So I've come to a very popular spot above Bear Lake, and you can see I'm in the middle of an aspen grove. Unfortunately, we got the right side of the grove has started to change, and the left side is still pretty green, starting to turn a little yellow, so I'd say I'm probably a week early. On the plus side, you can see we got quite a bit of rain coming through, so the plus side of that is that it's given a nice rich color to the leaves, and also the clouds passing over longs are catching a really nice light as the sun is starting to set. So I'm going to take advantage of these rainy conditions. There's some puddles on the rocks, and I'm really going to try and bring in the whole richness of the scene rather than focusing on the lake, which is there's a little bit of wind, so there's no reflection. So what I'm going to do is shoot a nice wide image looking at the rocks, the leaves, and the peaks, and try and get as little of the lake as possible, just getting the color reflecting off the lake, not worried as much about those reflections. But we're running out of time, so let me go ahead and get set up. So we still have about 15 minutes until the sun actually sets. I'm hopeful that we'll get some last bit of color. I ended up having to raise my tripod a little bit because there's some skinny branches just on the top of this dead tree that were protruding just above the peaks, and that always drives me nuts. So I raised up my tripod about a half a foot or so, and now those are falling below the peaks and they won't be a distraction. I think overall this really could be a nice image. I wish it was sunrise instead of sunset, so we'd be getting that light on the peaks, but this is what we've got. So I'm going to stick it out. I'm getting pretty cold. It's pretty wet, but I'm optimistic. There's a lot of high cloud up there, and I'm hoping that this rain will push through and we'll get a couple of minutes of really nice light before the sun sets, but fingers crossed. I hope you can see this, but the clouds above Long's Peak right now are perfect. There's these big, beautiful puffy clouds, and I see the light catching just the top, so I don't know if there's cloud on the horizon blocking or what, but the rain stopped. Just need a little bit of light. Sometimes if you ask the gods of Rocky Mountain National Park nice enough, they might just give you what you need. In this case, we had a few brief moments of really warm light just above the peaks, and that nice soft haze in the valley was the perfect way to reflect that light back into the scene. And to really emphasize this, I applied a bright, warm Orton effect to most of the scene. I masked that Orton effect off of this rock so that the rock would really be the anchor of the scene, having that dark sharpness to really be the launching pad where you start your eye there and then it brings you through the lake and up into the peaks to the subject of this image. I still need to work on the colors because I think there's a light color cast here and the contrast isn't quite right, but overall I'm very happy with this composition and with the conditions that I had. I did take several images here to do an exposure blend. The sky was extremely bright and the foreground was extremely dark, and additionally I did two separate shots, one for the foreground on the bottom half of the image and then panned up for the top half of the image. Even though I did a square crop, I wanted to maximize that resolution by using two sets of images to get me even more resolution in the image. And in typical Rocky fashion, just as I gave up on the image and reached for my 400mm lens to just shoot the peaks and the storm clouds passing over, in that brief few seconds, this beautiful light just started to hit the peaks. I put the lens down wondering, am I crazy, or is that light actually starting to break through? And sure enough, it just kept growing in intensity. I highly doubt you can see this, but there's a really gorgeous red glow hitting those peaks right now. I have never seen it so bright red like that before. If that spreads across the whole peaks, I might just lose my shit, I'm not gonna lie. And lose my shit I did. I showed this to my wife after being overly excited about it, and she called it the blob sunset. Let me know if you agree with me and you think this is extraordinary light, or if you agree with my wife and think it's just a blob. Oh, I hope hope you're able to see this. We have this dark gray cloud above the peaks, and then this gorgeous red light is starting to spread all the way across the peaks. And the rain has stopped, so now I'm doing a focus stack on the peaks and the foreground. Before I wasn't doing that because the rain was kind of blurring it anyway. But now that we have a nice clear sky, I'm going for a focus stack. This is just insane. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, pretty cool, right? I agree with the woodland critter. Overall, I am very happy with this image. It's certainly not the best image that I've ever seen from this location, but I will say the conditions are interesting and they're different, and that's always something I set out to capture. Being able to get a fall image, though not full peak, having these beautiful colors in the tree and this dramatic sky above is something that I really enjoyed being present for, and I'm glad that I was able to capture. Okay, I'm going to switch to my 400mm and just hit those peaks. Hopefully it sticks around long enough. I don't think I have ever seen alpine glow like this before, so I want to make sure I get a good shot. Oop. If you look at how fast these clouds are moving, this isn't sped up, this is in real time. I completely blew this image, and it breaks my heart because this was the shot. The shot with the aspens is nice, but this is what I should have been focused on. I didn't think the light would stick around long enough, so I just shot a single image of the peak, just like what you see here, and it was at about a half second, and those clouds moved just enough to where it's just blurry and distracting in the sky, and it would have been great if I had raised my ISO or opened up my aperture because I didn't have a big depth of field to work with, and I could have sped up my shutter speed and shot a vertical pano. I had plenty of time. This light stuck around for about 5 minutes, and that would have been an incredible image going from left to right. At 400mm, it was just too tightly cropped, and I missed out on a great image. Alright, I'm back in the car. I was getting poured on. I had to get out of there, but man, I am so stoked. I came up here thinking that I was wasting my time. I almost didn't even come on this trip. I only have one night. The conditions didn't look good, and I figured it was just a waste of time, and I've got so much stuff to catch up on. I've got a lot of images to process, work on the website, and there's a lot to do. So I felt like this was a big mistake. I told my wife on the way up here I'm wasting my time. And then all the way up here, it's elk season, elk bugle season. So there's all these jabronis going 3 miles an hour up the whole road. It took me almost 3 hours to get here. It's usually 1:45. So overall, just it wasn't going my way. And then when I saw the rain coming down, I thought, yep, should have stayed home. And that's just how it is, you know. You get out there, and the conditions sometimes it just works out. Just luck. That's all it is. I will say, given the conditions I had with that fiery color on the peak, I wish I hadn't done Bear Lake. I almost went up towards Dream Lake, shoot Keyboard of the Winds. It's a composition I've shot a bunch of times, but with that fiery color on the peaks, it would have been really nice to have a better vantage point of those peaks, but you never know. I wanted to focus on the fall color, so I made the decision to stay down here, but this was just a bonus night. The real thing was I'm here for tomorrow morning. We're going to head up to Loch Vale. On my way up here, I was looking at what foliage was changed and which one wasn't. The aspens look like they still have a ways to go, but a lot of the bushes have started to change and have a nice red and orange. And Loch Vale has a really nice spot at the inlet where there's a lot of those bushes. So we're going to get up early, try and get up around 3. It's only about 3.5 miles, I think, to get up there, but I want to get there nice and early to find a composition. So I'm hopeful that we'll get some really nice, colorful bushes in the foreground. Probably not going to get any reflections of the lake, but it won't matter because I'm also hopeful that we'll have some nice clouds roll in and get some color in the sky. So that's the game plan, but I'm going to bed fat and happy tonight because I think I came away with some good images. I actually think the 400mm image is going to be a keeper. but we'll have to see. So hopefully you've already seen the images by now. Hopefully you like them, and hopefully I did not completely botch those amazing conditions. But even still, it was an amazing experience. Definitely happy that I made the trip. As I review these final images, I feel like I didn't quite execute the way I would have hoped. I still like the images, but they're just not quite right. Something about fall, I can never seem to come away with an image that I'm happy with. And it kills me because I left that day thinking I had absolutely nailed it, but that's why we keep doing it. We'll never be satisfied, and we just got to keep getting better. So I'll get back out there, do better next time. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and get out there, make some images.